Hi, I'm Tyra G, your host of Frankly Speaking with Tyra G. Welcome again to our virtual global gathering of phenomenal women and those who love you. You, mothers, daughters, grand and great-grandmothers, fearsome and generous, humble and honest in pursuit of new possibilities and purpose. We dig deep and we come up strong. For those of you joining us for the first time, each month we explore a new theme inspired by you. Yes, I said inspired by you. Together we bravely walk into places where tradition has taught us there are some things we just don't talk about. But not at this table. And no matter how hard judgment knocks, it will not get in. Beloved ladies, here we live beyond the wreckage. This month's theme is This Is Us. It's all about who we are, what we believe, what drives us, what causes us to fall, what brings us joy. Every week we meet here for 1 hour to experience, encourage, empower each other. We're going to share some aha moments and some stories that have been left in our pocket for too long. Every week we start with where we are. Although many of your voices will speak light into the darkness, there is no insignificant person around this table. Each show has 3 segments, the beginning, the middle, and the end. The first segment is where I walk you in and set the table for the show. The middle is our Sister Talk centerpiece, where one of you phenomenal, generous, and fearless women join me in the interview seat. I named the last segment, It's Not Over. This is where I deposit some empowerment and encouragement thoughts for you to take with. Think of it as a spiritual doggy bag, just in case your soul needs a pickup and a snack while we're apart. You're listening to Radio Fairfax, Virginia, on your TV, computer, or mobile device, and we are webcast worldwide on the internet at www.radiofairfax.org. Now, should you miss us, don't worry. You can catch up with us on our YouTube channel, Frankly Speaking with Tyra G. And if you just feel like connecting with me offline, it's easy. Email Tyra at TyraGarlington.com. Again, Tyra at TyraGarlington.com. Thanks so very much for tuning in. I want to acknowledge once again the composer and performer of our theme song, Mr. Courtney Nero. Courtney, my favorite saxophone player and my friend. Courtney knew I was trying to make my dream come true through this radio show. He surprised me with my own personal theme song, and he named it I'm Listening. That's amazing, awesome sauce. Makes you kind of want to dance, don't you think? Thanks, Courtney. Each week, I like to begin by creating a virtual common thought space for us to inhabit during our time together. I found the easiest way to do that is to ask one of my favorite questions, what if? It's so pregnant with possibilities. We can start from where we are and go anywhere. Now today, the what if question's actually a setup. So you better lean in and pay close attention. And here it is. What if I experience and express the power of trust to ask the right questions? I'm going to say it again. What if I experience and express the power of trust to ask the right questions? Will I get the information I need? How many of us are aware there is a right and a wrong way to ask a question? Questions have consequences. It's like cause and effect. After our break, we'll take a closer look at the power of a right and a wrong question. Stay close. Today we're going to take another drink from that fountain of wisdom provided from Ilinda Reese in her book, Until Today. We're going to kickstart our conversation about questions. And I quote, "Do you know if you ask the wrong question, you won't get the information you need? Nowhere is this more true than in our relationships. For example, Rather than asking, why doesn't he do this or why doesn't she do that? It may be more beneficial to ask, well, what is it that I am to do? Now, this I love, the differences between the sexes. Pay attention. Masculine energy represents the mind. Men, do you trust your ideas? Do you believe that the ideas that you have, that you receive from a divine source, do you know that once you receive an idea, you have everything you need to manifest the idea as it's provided to you? I ask some of you, are you afraid to ask what you need? Feminine energy represents the heart. Women, do you trust yourself enough to be loving and a capable teacher? Are you aware that everyone who comes into your life is your student? Do you know that as you teach your students, you learn what you need to know? Do you know that you're beautiful? Do you understand that beauty is a divine quality that you possess? Until we can answer these questions, we're not going to experience the bounty of loving families, of thriving communities, and a peaceful world. Lord knows we need that now. Our ability to act upon the answers is an act of faith. Our ability to know and act upon the answers is a function of trust. Until today, you may have distorted ideas about your purpose and function in life, in relationships. But just for today, take time to consider some questions that you may not have asked yourself. Your affirmation for today is this: I am devoted to asking the right questions about myself and my purpose. Come on now, repeat after me. I am devoted to asking the right questions about myself and my purpose. This week's phenomenal woman who has volunteered to sit in the interview chair and share in a heart-to-heart and spirit-to-spirit conversation is Ms. Ilinda Reese from Cleveland, Ohio. Now, Ilinda is a veteran of supporting people through growth and transformation and into living their best life. And in that process, she knows a lot about questions and the effectiveness and the efficiency of asking the right ones. Now, other people who know Ilinda describe her as a dynamic and inspirational speaker. Somebody else says she's candid about getting out of an abusive marriage and being a survivor. Ilinda captivates audience when she speaks passionately about domestic violence and the empowerment of women. We want to focus on that some today. I love this. Ilinda is called a transition physician. She's an author, a TV personality, a transition coach, and a motivational speaker. Another quote I read is, she is a true gem. And Ilinda submitted a bio to let you know a little bit more about her. I'm just going to pick some key words that jumped out at me. She's a passionate coach. She wants people to live their best life. Now, this is big. She is a change accelerator. Now, we're going to ask her to break that down in a few minutes. But she's been this change accelerator and a popular seminar leader for 20-plus years. Reese has presented to Fortune 500 companies as well as nonprofit agencies. She's a regular to radio. She's been on Radio 1, WZAK 93.1. She's been on TV8. She's had her own TV talk show. She demonstrates her ability to communicate, and she has a quick wit, which we will find out as well. She has been sharing her gifts throughout the United States and Europe. You can't sit with Ilinda and in her authentic self, without her challenging you to change your patterns and generate a mind shift to enhance your interactions. Her first book, now listen to this, I love this. Her first book by 220 Communications is called, If I'm Looking for a Prince, Why Am I Still Kissing Frogs? And challenges you to stop it. Now, I parked right there on that because I have been kissing some frogs. Yeah, I need to change some behavior. Her books include Till Death, Don't Talk, Speak, and the newest work, I Changed My Mind. It's My Prerogative. It has both a book and a workbook. Does it seem like there's attitude, a strong, dynamic attitude reflected in those titles? I think they come from a source and represent that source. She's also contributed to a collaborative work, Permission to Speak. And I like this because it's an intergenerational conversation. She graduated from Ursuline College, but she studied why we do what we do and identifies the root causes of our gridlock and inertia. She has very practical approaches that have proven to successfully create permanent change. She is president of the Advanced Speakers International for the development and training of speakers. I asked her to choose a theme for our conversation today. And after a long talk, she came up with Coaching is Not a Choice. Welcome, Ilinda from Cleveland.
Well, thank you, Miss Tyra. I mean, you are such a phenomenal professional. I was listening, as I listened from the very beginning, I feel like you could have just dropped the mic right then.
You're sweet for saying that.
You're awesome.
I appreciate you so much because you're calling into the studio. I know it's after hours, but I just was so intent on you sharing your gifts with our listening audience. And before we get too far, I'm not going to let you get away with that. There's a powerful concept in your bio, Change Accelerator.
Yes.
Okay, you need to talk to me about that, girl.
Well, you know, we are all very comfortable in our comfortability, and I don't even know if that's a word, but it's my word.
Okay.
We get very comfortable in our habits and what we do from day to day. Nobody likes change, but change is the only constant, and change is the only thing that moves us from one place to the next. So when I talk to people about what they're doing and why they're doing it, and they say to me, but Ilinda, that's uncomfortable. Well, that's what has to happen. You have to move from your comfort zone and embrace something new, and that's all about change. And what I do is I accelerate the change by, as you said, asking the right questions and kind of poking and prodding you in the right direction.
So what I'm hearing you say, number one, change is constant. Number two, people resist change. It is uncomfortable. But what I'm thinking I'm hearing behind those words is change is also necessary. Am I right, Ilinda?
Necessary. Absolutely. It's necessary for your development because if you do not change, you become stagnant, and anything that becomes stagnant is not growing.
I'm wondering now, we take Change Accelerator as it and have it relate to your title, Coaching is Not a Choice. Can you marry those two ideas for me?
Yes, because we don't, if you're in the picture, you can't see the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, it's important for somebody to come along and be the intervention for you to be able to see yourself. You perceive yourself one way, but someone outside of that can see a little bit better. It's kind of like Jahara's window, where we have our blind spots, we have our secrets, we have all of those things. And so a coach, everyone needs a coach. LeBron James has a coach. Everyone has had a coach, someone that can take you from the level of where you are to your next level, whatever that is.
I'm remembering a couple of things. One, that there are people in our lives, and you just coined the term or coach. There are people in our lives that are necessary to tell us the things we can't see about ourselves. There are people that have to show us the things that the mirror won't show us. And I'm wondering if you can maybe give some examples of when maybe you entered into a conversation and that conversation became a coaching session, because that's what you do.
Oh, my goodness. Tyra, that happens to me all the time. I could be in a grocery store, and people just walk up to me and start telling me their life story. I just stand there and I'm amazed. I'm saying, you don't know me, but they must connect to the magnetism of the spirit that is drawing them to me, and they feel comfortable telling me things. And what happens is, just in conversation, I can listen. I love your theme song, I'm listening, because we lose the art of listening.
Yes.
And when I listen, I can hear the undertones. I can hear what's not being said. I can hear what's trying to be shielded, guarded, and all of that. And then when I go in and start asking the right questions, then the revelatory knowledge comes, and they start confirming what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing.
You know, I also think about statistics. Okay, I like statistics. In statistics, they talk about words, and words are 7% of effective communication. And what you just said, you're in the grocery store line, and you're looking at and listening to and looking at a face and eyes, and you're watching body language, and you're feeling that person. And whatever the spirit in you is meeting the spirit in that person, the connection is at that level probably more than the words that the person is saying. Am I correct?
Yes, you're absolutely correct, because 38% is the voice tone, but 55% is the nonverbal behavior.
Yes.
And so you're doing things, your body is becoming incongruent with your words when the message is confused or mixed.
Yes. Yes.
And so your body will demonstrate what is really going on.
Ilinda, have you ever watched TV with the sound off?
Yes.
Sometimes I do that. I do. And sometimes I listen to or turn to a station that's in a language I cannot understand and see if I can follow the story. And it's based on those very things, because we give up so much of ourselves. And in relationships, oh my goodness. Power relationships, romantic relationships. Poker face. Poker face is something that would work well for you.
And especially with women, we have learned to not have a voice.
Yes.
And that's why sometimes they say the African American woman is so loud, is because she doesn't believe she's being heard. And so she'll just elevate the volume. But we don't feel like we have a voice. So therefore, a lot of things we'll take internal. It will go internal. And then we exhibit with the behaviors, and someone says, "What's wrong?" And we say, "Nothing." There's nothing.
Yes.
Nothing's wrong.
Yes.
Well, that's a lie, and your body is saying that's a lie. But I'm trying to get past it by asking you some questions to which you're resisting, but I know that it's not true.
You know, ironically, and I guess I have that in my book, I was emotionally dishonest for a great deal of my life. And I would do exactly what people say, "What's wrong?" And I'd say nothing. And what I realized was that I had a nonverbal mask that I was wearing.
Yes.
And it takes someone who wants to know you to look beyond the mask. Yes. And so I became isolated because I was telling a lie. And people that didn't care just listened to the lie.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even when I say to you, "How are you doing?" Most of us are ready for, "I'm fine," and we just keep walking. But if I say, "Well, I'm not doing very well, I'm having some issues today," they're like, "Okay, great, see you later." They never even heard me.
I know. Yes. And I think that a lot of that has happened as a result of how fast the world is, how fast we can get information. We have so many things that are getting into us all the time, 24/7, all kinds of triggers is what we have to respond to. And I've watched mothers in stores with their little ones, and the little ones are trying to have a conversation or say something, and the mother's tired, and she has an answer she has an answer for a question that hasn't been asked. Yes. And I think, look at what we're doing.
Yes, and she has an agenda to get in the store and get out of the store. And she's already told the child before they go in there, "I'm not buying you anything. Don't ask for anything."
Yes.
And just be quiet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Well,
children don't listen to those rules.
no. And the thing about it is, though, I kind of hate that we program that out of our children, all of it,
Yes,
because if we could get them to continue to ask questions, they could be more creative problem solvers and be more
absolutely.
critical thinkers.
Yes, yes. And we don't teach our children to ask questions because we don't want them to ask us questions.
Yeah. And I think we're getting some negative consequences with our teenagers, our
Yes.
preteens.
Hmm.
The dinner table conversations have now become a part of a phone,
Yes.
and they don't really mind if you don't talk to them because they have a
Hmm.
community of people ready to listen and sometimes hurt them or expose them to things
Yes,
they, yeah.
that's it. Because that's it right there. You hit it right on the head because they're not they're going to their community, but their community does not have the right answers. So therefore, when they ask the questions, the preconceived ideas in the question to their peers, they get the wrong answer and they operate and make their decision based on that rather than having it come from someone that cares about them.
Yeah, the caring piece.
Hmm.
Um, what I always smile at with my eyes, but it hurts my heart when I see a young woman and a young man sitting at a table, obviously out for a date, on their
Hmm.
phones, and no
Yes,
contact, no
none.
intimacy being created. And I'm thinking,
Yes,
where will they learn what they need? But
yes.
one of the workshops you give, which I think is kind of cool, where you turn confrontation into conversations and
Hmm.
embracing successful communication styles. I wonder if we can tie that back to our question for today in trying to embrace successful communication styles. What kind of questions would be helpful to us?
There's a statement that I like to live by that says, when we are sufficiently tired of getting the wrong answers from society, we'll seek the right answers from the inside, from ourselves, from the essence of who we are. Well,
Hmm.
the problem becomes when I am feeling anger,
Mm-hmm.
then I am going to direct that anger towards a person
Mm-hmm.
versus internalizing and asking myself, what about this situation is causing me to feel the emotion of anger?
Mm-hmm.
Because anger is only a secondary emotion. It's not the first emotion that I experience. So if I'm out with let's say, the mate, and I'm talking with someone, and that mate comes back and says, "Who is that, and why are you talking to that person?" and starts getting angry, usually we will address the anger versus the emotion that caused the anger in the first place.
Yeah, I
So,
think yeah. Because
yeah,
when I'm thinking of men and women, sometimes when they don't know the person, they
yes,
they walk into a space of vulnerability because they don't know
yes,
how to manage. Is that somebody that
absolutely.
I should know? Is that somebody that's
Right.
threatening to our relationship?
Yes.
And
And that's exactly it. That's
mm-hmm,
exactly it. And I'm feeling threatened. I'm feeling rejection because now you're talking to someone other than myself
mm-hmm,
and finding pleasure in doing that. I'm feeling a lot of emotions, but then society will accept my anger versus my vulnerability and my, if I come to you in a soft place and say, oh, is that a person? As you said, I should know, or
mm-hmm.
who is that? And then I would share, okay, that's just an old friend from school, and we were just rehashing some things, and it becomes very easy. However, if we take it to the left, and then I get angry, you get angry, and then it blows up into something that never should have been.
And I think we're talking about the whole Well, I'll go back to mask because
Hmm.
we can have a conversation with our mask on and get nowhere,
Yes,
and we can take a risk and take it off, but we still have to remember that if it is a male female situation, let's put it this way, if it's a significant other
yes,
situation, so I won't put
yes.
gender on it, if it's a significant other conversation,
Hmm.
generally one is going to be very conceptual and the other is going to be very heartfelt. And so we have to somehow, those are not, when I think of the head, where the head is, the heart, where the heart is, and the spirit, where the spirit is, we need to level how we're talking, and that sometimes takes a long time. That
Yes.
it's rare you're going to walk up to somebody and have a meaningful conversation around a topic that's personal,
That's right.
and
That's right.
it's difficult.
And then you have to know, you have to have at least a level of intimacy to be able to get below that into the surfaces, into the depths of who that person really is. Otherwise, you're going to get surface. You also have to know what that person's style of communication is, because when we're talking about turning confrontation into conversation, I may be passive. I may be a passive person that I just let everything build up internally. Or I could be a person that I'm passive and then I get aggressive. And so you can push me, and then all of a sudden I break out and I just throw dishes and everything. So, you have to really get to know a person to know what they're communicating and how what their environment has taught them and how to work through that.
I'm thinking about going back to something you said before, and I had it on my mind and it's gone. That's what happens. Mine's over 40, huh? It's like a sieve. But I'll get back to it. I'm not too worried about that.
Yes.
When women are women to women communicating, although we are nurturing individuals by nature, and although we're caring, we have some nuances woman to woman, which is kind of interesting as well. That BFF you've had for 50 years is totally different than the up-and-coming BFF. It may be two different communication styles, two different levels of commitment, etc. And what I realized when I was writing my book is that I have friends that fit in categories that are dear to me. I mean, love them to death. And I realized I have a workout friend, a travel friend, watch movies in socks and jammies friend, a friend that knows all of my secrets, and we better never, ever not be friends again. And so in each one of those situations, what we share, there's some commonality, but we have different emphasis.
And that's important. It's important to do that because not everyone can accept where you are, who you are at different levels.
I remembered. Okay. Okay, I'm going to write it down. Go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Okay. You mentioned,
I don't want you to lose it.
You mentioned, I think this is really significant, you mentioned that women are so used to, traditionally, women are so used to being quiet. And so when they say something, and you mentioned African American women speak in a louder voice because they're so used to not being seen. They're invisible.
Yes.
And but without that understanding, somebody may be put off.
Yes, absolutely. And you remember, I don't know, this is way back. I guess when I was growing up, it'll show my age, but we were taught, there was a little rhyme that said, girls are sugar and spice and everything nice.
Yes.
And so if you were a lady, if you were a girl, you were taught that you're sugar and spice and everything nice. So therefore, when there was something that displeased you or something that you did not agree with or something that you felt you needed to voice an opinion about, we learned languages that caused us to be diminished, such as, it's my opinion, it's just my opinion, but... We preface our conversations with that, or I don't mean to be this, but this bothers me. So we have to relearn our behaviors and learn how to be able to speak for ourselves, and that's where change comes in. But you have to first be aware of the need to change. And
how would you do that? How would you do that, Ilinda? Say, you and I met, and maybe we met at a social function, and we got through the first level of the onion skin and decided that, maybe there's something to this, and we get together for coffee. How would you how would you move toward intimacy? How would you move from that first conversation to something else? Or let's go back and make it a little different. As a coach, you may feel that this person needs to talk. You may feel that this person needs, your discernment is telling you they really were reaching out to you. And so you say, well, let's meet for coffee. How would you talk with this? What kind of questions, getting back to our theme, would you explore with this person to give you more information that might help you help them?
Well, I first start off by finding out where the person is presently. And so I ask questions. I ask them to answer questions that seem like they're very surface questions, like, who are you? Mm-hmm. And just starting there, who are you? Then the reflection that comes back to me from that person could be, I'm a parent, I'm this age, I'm a wife, I'm this. And those are all roles that we fulfill. That's not who we are.
Right.
And so then the more questions I ask, well, I live in such and such. Well, that's not who you are. That's where you reside. And you change your residence often. So that's not who you are. So I keep trying to go deeper and deeper into getting to where that person is starting to have back up and say, well, I don't know. I don't know who I am. Well, what are you passionate about? And so their answers to me reveal where they are, because that's where we have to start. We have to start where we are. Where are you spiritually? Mm-hmm. Well, and you get those half answers. So that's what I'm working with. I start there, and we work our way through the process.
So I had a conversation with someone recently, a dear friend who is falling apart, and we met for tea, and maybe you and I can role play what happened. I'll be her and you be you. That's not a role play. Yeah, that's a role play.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're meeting for tea, and you're there earlier, and I come to the table, and now we've been friends for a long time, and you sense that something is wrong. So we greet each other with a hug, and what would be maybe the first thing that you would say to me?
I would say to you, tell me how you're feeling today.
Okay.
Just something simple. How are you feeling today? And then say, oh, no, you're role-playing, so you can give me an answer.
I will.
Go ahead.
Ilinda, I am miserable. I have no reason to be miserable. I love teaching at the community college, but at the same time, I don't get to write anymore. I love writing poetry. And the kids are doing great in school, except I'm having a hard time helping them with some of their advanced math. And for some reason, I can't get the kids to figure out why they need closets when the floor is someplace that they can see everything they need. And lately, they don't want to get up in the morning, and neither do I. Maybe it's because of all the after-school activities. Maybe they're tired. I don't know.
Wow. That means to me that you're thinking, you're processing the wrong questions. Because you're now saying to me, you're saying you're miserable. However, you just turned that around and said, but I don't have any reason to be miserable. Mm-hmm. Really, you should be asking yourself, what is it that's causing you to feel that? What is the focus? Let's zoom in and magnify what the real issues are. Because you've turned it over to the children and wonder why the children are not doing what you need them to do. We need to back it up and find out what it is in your spirit, what it is that's causing you each day you get up to not feel fulfilled, not feel passionate, not feel on fire for life.
I think, Ilinda, I think you hit on something, because I did two things, I guess. I am miserable. I feel miserable. And I think I was feeling guilty for feeling miserable, because if you look at my life, if someone else looked at my life, they would go
Yes.
like, whoa, that's really cool. And then on
Yes.
top of that, check this out. My husband just got this huge promotion. The money's wonderful, except he's gone 2 weeks out of the month. So I have to do
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
And
And the money's not a motivator.
yeah,
It's not. And it's not at the heart of who you are. So we need to really work the process to find out who you really are, what excites you, what ignites you, what really is what you want to do and leave a legacy for your life. That's what we need to find out. And that we can do through a series of questions and conversations. And I am willing to work with you and coach you through that process if you're willing to allow me as your friend.
well, I don't know. I'm feeling a little nervous about that because I know, well, we've been friends for a while. I guess I can tell you that I feel a little anger that I have to manage everything on my own while my husband's away for 2 weeks out of the month. And then when he comes home, I know he expects me to be wife and mother. And I find that he doesn't ask me how I'm doing. You know, he calls me every day, but we exchange information. And I don't think he picks up my fatigue or that I'm discontent in my voice. He just,
How much of it are you taking responsibility for communicating how you are really feeling to him? In your language, you're saying to me, he doesn't. He calls, but he doesn't ask me. He doesn't.
You're right. I don't tell him. You're right. Because,
Exactly.
Mama said, okay, Mama said, you got all this. You got a nice home. You got a nice family. You got a handsome husband. He's making a lot of money. You got a good job. What you got to complain about?
Then
Okay?
Mama should live with him, okay?
But, I was raised with that. And,
yes. And that's going back to your subconscious beliefs that are limiting you, not allowing you to have a voice, because that's what's happening. You're in the school system. You're not having a voice to be able to say, this is where I like this to go. You're in a home where you're not using your voice. It's your responsibility to figure out what it is you need and then put a voice to it and express it in a constructive, positive way so that you will have your needs met.
I think I used to do that in my poetry when I wrote. That was a perfect outlet for me. It was creative, and I could play with words. I can do nuance, but I don't have time to do that anymore. And then I went ahead and
look at. Yeah, come on. Why you don't have time for it? We'll look at that and say, why is it you have time for everything else except for what you enjoy?
I don't know. And then I raised my hand for office in my club, and we're having a regional convention, and you know about leadership in clubs. But what I'm afraid of, and I really need to fix this before we get into heavy convention planning, is I may be taking out my anger on my kids, and like I'm instead of us sitting down figuring out, okay, why can we not get something in the closets? Why do I have to walk over clothes when I come into your room? If I could we could creatively come up with a way where maybe they don't have to do the whole thing my way. Maybe we reorganize things. But I get so angry. I spend a lot of money on those clothes.
And you waste a lot of time. You waste a lot of time. Let me just give you a tip that I used with my children growing up. I would tell them that they had a certain amount of time, a day, whatever it was, a day, 2 days, to have all the clothes up out of the floor and into the closets or spaces, wherever they're supposed to be, and let them know that and say, on this day I'm coming into your room. Anything that's on the floor and anything that's not in the closet, I'm taking away for a period of time. And I would just come through with a garbage bag it all up, and take it away, and then they would wait for a couple of weeks to get it back.
Now, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, no anger, no emotions, no anything. They've been forewarned. They made the decision to do it or not do it, and we're all happy.
Well, now I'm writing that down in my journal. You know me, me and my journal. And there is something that, oh, I trust you with me, so I'm going to share this. When my husband does come home and it's time for me to play wife, I'm tired. I'm tired. I don't care about playing wife. I'm tired of playing mother. And I don't want to fix dinner. And I think, though I'm not saying that, my behavior may be off-putting.
Of course.
So.
Because your body is going to respond to the negative energy that's inside.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, we're going back to not expressing and taking responsibility. When your husband comes home and he's looking for all of these things, say to him, well, honey, let's go out to dinner. I'm getting excited for the kids because it's the first day you're back. Let's go out to dinner because there's some things we need to talk about, some things I need to express and share in a comfortable setting where we can both relax and talk.
Do you know, that sounds so easy? It's really,
change.
really sounds easy.
It's change, and we resist change. However, if you just take a step forward, then the change will cause the atmosphere to change and move in the forward movement direction. Your marriage, your family, your children, when you are comfortable, when you are relaxed and can breathe and have your needs met, the children will respond because they will feel the positive energy that you're now putting out versus the negative, angry, critical, judgment, all of that.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking about maybe calling a family meeting and just go ahead and take a risk and be as kind as I can be, but be honest and just share what's happening with me and invite the family to let us work it out together. What do you think about that?
I say to that, it's a fantastic idea. However, we need to first get you in a headspace where you need to be before you call a meeting, because what will happen is if you're still harboring the anger, still harboring the resentment, still harboring the frustration and all of that, then something in the meeting will trigger that and it will not get the results that you want. So let's just work together to figure this out first with you. And then everybody else will benefit. You remember the statement that said, if mama's happy, everybody's happy?
Well, let me do this. Thank you for the role play. And I really, you know what I believe in my heart? I believe that women have universal themes in our lives.
Yes.
And it's how we put our stories together that sets us apart. But I believe some of the things that we talked about, there are women listening that have the same issues. And if we can begin to build a community where we can talk to each other, I think we can avoid a lot of things around guilt and shame and anger.
Yes, absolutely. And you find out that if everyone else, a lot of others are experiencing the same thing, then there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no embarrassment because I'm in this place.
Yes.
It's just a familiar place. And so what we just did was resonating with someone to say, oh, that's a solution. I hadn't thought of that. And so when you have a community where you can talk to people and you can share, even when you're sharing with a coach, then you find out that what you're thinking is not so far off limits.
Yes, yes.
You know, and so you start feeling good about it. So I'm hoping that it resonated with someone to say, yes, I need to reach out and talk to someone.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break, and after we do, you get a chance to read your letter to your younger self, and maybe we will get some indication of how you got to be the wonderful person you are. Stay tuned.
Oh, thank you.
And now, Ilinda, it's your turn. Help us know the little girl you.
Well, this is a letter to my younger self, and I said, most of what I'm about to say to you, you won't understand. It's the truth as I now see it. You are beautiful. Don't shake your head and say no. Linda, listen, Linda. You are beautiful. I know you haven't heard it before, and it's hard to believe, and it's true. I know they told you that you were smart, but didn't tell you you were beautiful. If you can believe me, you will walk differently with your head held high, exuding confidence instead of avoiding eye contact. Because of your kindness, people will take advantage of you, mistaking your kindness for weakness. Don't worry. You'll come through it with your character intact. Your parents are working hard to help you develop. However, they cannot give you what they do not have. What they will give you is a faith in God that is solid. While your self-esteem is still under construction, you'll meet an 18-year-old who will tell you you are beautiful and you're flattered. After all, he will probably be the first one to say it, and you will believe. This will set you on a path to begin the long journey of experiencing the roller coaster of emotions that will include some highs and lows. God's grace will take you through, and you will emerge stronger and wiser. Listen.
Ilinda, you are a gem. Tell the listening audience if they want to get in contact with you and continue the conversation, how might they do that?
They can go to my website, which is just Ilinda. That's Ilinda. I know it throws a lot of people off. Ilinda.net, or they can also reach out to find out my availability at 216-323-5601.
Repeat that a number again.
216-323-5601.
I thank you so, so very much for being with us.
It's been awesome, Tyra.
Each week, I want to leave everybody listening with a little encouragement, just in case. And I've said it before, I call it a spiritual doggy bag to get you over any moment of doubt, anger, frustration, loneliness, when you feel tired of being tired. I know that one. Or think, is this all there is? When you're in this mood, I want you to remember that I am here, and I am here to listen and to inspire. I am here to help you open the inaccessible areas of your heart. I am here until your fleeting spirit decides to stay. I am here to encourage you to accept these truths. We're going to have Mr. Tony Walker take us home on piano on our theme song. Add to that doggy bag a ribbon which says, "You are worthy. You are not alone. You are not your circumstances. Nothing that has happened to you in your life will be wasted. You have everything within you need to thrive. Refuse to be refused. Your voice has saved you." I look forward to next week, same time, same place. Your seat is guaranteed. And remember, just in case, if you miss us, you can catch us on YouTube, Frankly Speaking with Tyra G. I'm serious about wanting to hear from you. Let me know how I'm doing. You got ideas. You know how we can make this better, because we want to grow our community. Write to me, please, Tyra@tyragarlington.com. I would love it. I would love to hear from you. Till next week, you be well. I love you.